How best to find grammatical names and functions in the WIEC English exam. This is the focus of today's lesson. If you are new to this channel, kindly subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well so that when a new video goes live on the channel, you will be notified instantly. I'm going to walk you through some past questions specifically from 2015 to 2020 and show you exactly how best to find grammatical names and functions in response to specific WIEC questions. I am Benjamin from English Classes Online. Come with me as we dive into this lesson right away. In this lesson, we shall be looking at the following. What is a grammatical name and why is it important? What is a grammatical name and why is it important? 2, what is a grammatical function and why is it important? 3, how can we identify grammatical names and functions? And 4, past questions and how to solve them. Let's start with the first basic question. What is a grammatical name and why is it important? A grammatical name is the name given to a word, phrase, or clause according to the work it does in a sentence. There are various units of grammar in English, and they have their specific names, such as morphemes, words, phrases, clauses, and sentences. Your knowledge of English grammar has to do with being able to identify these grammatical units one by one. You will find a video on the basic units of English grammar, and if you want a detailed explanation on the topic, there is a free PDF ebook you can download. Just check it out in the description box. For example, English words are classified into the 8 parts of speech, and they have their specific names such as nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, prepositions, conjunctions, and interjections. English phrases are also classified into noun phrase, adverbial phrase, adjectival phrase, prepositional phrase, and so on. The clauses are noun clause, adverbial clause, and adjectival clause, which is also known as a relative clause. The sentence, which is the largest grammatical unit, is also classified into different classes, namely simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, compound complex sentence, multiple sentence, and multiple complex sentence. These are the classes or the types of sentences according to structure. Then there's another classification according to function, and they are as follows: declarative, imperative, interrogative, exclamatory, and optative sentences. If you browse through the channel, you will find videos explaining different types of sentences. Now, 2, what is a grammatical function and why is it important? Grammatical function is the work done by a word, phrase, or any other grammatical structure in the context of a particular clause or sentence. Okay? Now, the function a word or group of words performs depends on the position it occupies within the sentence structure. Consider the sentence: the boy kicked the ball into the net. We can break the sentence into the following parts: 1, the boy; 2, kicked; 3, the ball; 4, into the net. So we have 4 parts of this sentence. Okay. The first group of words, the boy, is a noun phrase and it performs the function of subject in the sentence. A subject is the doer of the action or the person or thing being discussed in the sentence. That's what a subject is about. Other elements in the sentence are kicked, is the verb, the ball is the object, and into the net is the adjunct. Now, the third item, how can we identify grammatical names and function? Now, first of all, we identify grammatical names by examining the grammatical class it belongs to and according to the job it does in a sentence. These are two things. What grammatical class does the word or the group of words belong to? What is its job in the sentence? These are two things to examine. Let's return to our previous example. The boy kicked the ball into the net. How do we identify the grammatical name of the ball? We identify it as a noun phrase because this group of words gives us the name of a person. And any word that names a person, place, or thing is a noun. At least we learned that from the parts of speech. Now, if it is two or more words, it is a noun phrase, as the case may be. If it is a group of words and it has the subject-verb combination, then it could be a noun clause. We identify kicked as a verb because it expresses an action. Of course, you know a verb is an action word, but it could also be a being word, okay? Second, we identify the grammatical function of a word or group of words by the specific position it occupies within the sentence structure, coupled with the role it plays in it. Again, let's use the previous example. The boy kicked the ball into the net. We identify the boy as subject because it occupies the subject position, which is usually the initial position in a declarative sentence. Okay, well, let's go back to this first. Now you need to understand that the structure of the sentence we have given as example is SVOA, subject, verb, object, adjunct. Moreover, the boy, being a person, which is a noun phrase, usually performs an action reported in an English sentence, okay? Now, how can we identify the grammatical names? This is what we continue to explain. Another way of identifying both grammatical names and function is by looking at the 5 sentence elements. There are 5 sentence elements which indicate the possible positions that words or groups of words can occupy within a sentence structure. These elements are contained in the acronym SVOCA. Now, S stands for subject, V for verb, O for object, C for complement, and A for adjunct. Now, the subject is the doer of an action or the person or thing being talked about. The verb, as you know, is the word or group that reports an action or being in a sentence. Object is the receiver of an action done by another. Complement is the word or group that describes the subject or completes its meaning. Then adjunct is the word or group that completes the meaning of the verb or gives extra information about the action expressed in the sentence. Now, let's now come to item number 4, and this is where we begin to look at past questions and how to solve them. We want to begin with 2015 West African Senior School Certificate Examination, the one for June specifically. And we are looking at theory question number 6. Usually, an expression is underlined in the passage, and then 2 questions are asked based on that expression. Now, the full sentence in the passage is as follows. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, newspaper reporters had a field day speculating on the unprecedented confrontation with Chief. Okay? Now, in the question, the underlined word in the passage is presented. not long after the governor's proclamation. Then two questions are asked. Question I, what is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? II, what is its function? Now, how do we solve this problem? First, we begin by looking, well, let me bring this down so we can have a clear space. First, we look at the entire sentence from which this expression was extracted. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, newspaper reporters had a field day speculating on the unprecedented confrontation with chief. We use what we call the border principle. Then we use the elimination method. That's the second thing. And then we use the question method. Okay? These three are very important grammatical principles or tools, if you like, that we are going to use. Now, we read the expression. Now, as I was saying, we use the border principle. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, then we put a line here. This is the border. And then we, first of all, eliminate this underlined expression. And then we read the remaining part of the sentence and we examine the type of question that arises. Based on the question that arises, then we go back to the underlined expression and examine the type of information, the type of answer it can provide to the question. And this will give us a clear clue as to its grammatical name. Now let's begin. Let's assume that this is removed and then we read the rest of the sentence. Newspaper reporters had a field day speculating on the unprecedented confrontation with chief. Now, as soon as someone gives you this report, what kind of question can you ask him? There are a number of questions. Now, when did the newspaper reporters have a field day? Where? Why? How? You know, these are possible questions. Now, since we have ascertained the questions, we go back to the given expression and examine it critically to find out the type of answer it can provide to any of the questions. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, let me take it again. Not long after the governor's official proclamation, now, not long after already suggests the idea of time. So this expression provides answer to the question when. Now that we have understood the type of answer it provides, that gives us a clue as to its grammatical name. because only an adverb can answer the question when. And that will be precisely an adverb of time. Then we will subject this to further analysis. If it is an adverb, it should be a single word, but this is not a single word. Then we are left with two possibilities. This expression could be an adverb phrase or an adverb clause. Now, if it is an adverb phrase, then it should not have a subject and a verb combined together, because a clause should have a subject-verb combination. Let's read it and find out whether it has a subject and a verb. If it doesn't, then it's an adverb phrase. If it does, then it is an adverb clause. Not long after the governor's official proclamation. There is no verb here. You can look at it. Not long after the governor's official proclamation. It doesn't have subject verb combined together. So it is an adverbial phrase or an adverb phrase if you like. Now, what is its function? We know that an adverb, by its, as the name implies, adds meaning to a verb. So normally an adverb modifies a verb. The verb we have here is had. Newspaper reporters had a field day. When did the newspaper reporters have a field day? Not long after the governor's official proclamation. So this adverb phrase modifies the verb had. And this is how we arrive at the answer. So let's now look. There is a kind of typo here. This should not be F. If the question is G, then the answer should be G. Okay. So we can see answer to question I is adverbial phrase of time. Answer to question II, which is what is its function, is modifies the verb have. So this is how you arrive at the answers. Let's undo the marks and then we go to the next question. The next question is taken from 2016, theory question 6. Again, the full sentence in the passage is as follows. The teacher raised an instant alarm and the neighbors came rushing to the scene. The questions are as follows. The underlined expression is an instant alarm. You can see it underlined in the passage. Then the questions are, what is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? II, what is its function? Now, let's look at the solution. How do we solve this? Again, we use the border principle. You know, the teacher raised, the underlined expression is an instant alarm. It shares a boundary with this first part of the sentence. Then we use the elimination method. Let's eliminate an instant alarm. So there will be a blank space here. Then we read this, and because of the missing expression, a question will naturally arise. The teacher raised, you can see. Then what kind of question do you think should arise? The teacher raised what? You know, if somebody, you know, if somebody says this to you and doesn't complete the sentence, the teacher raised and then stops there. Naturally, we'll ask him, what exactly did the teacher raise? So now, let's now look at the type of question. What? The only grammatical unit or class that gives answer to the question what is a noun. If it is a single word, it is a noun. If it is a group of words, it could be a noun phrase or a noun clause, depending on two things. If it has a subject and a verb, then it is a clause. If it doesn't have, it is a phrase. So here we have an instant alarm. It is a noun phrase because it doesn't even have a verb. Okay. So here, let's erase this elimination mark. And then what do? We then examine this. What is its function? Okay. How do we ascertain its function? We can analyze the sentence according to the elements. The elements of a sentence are the grammatical functions that different grammatical structures perform within the sentence structure. So if we break this into its logical components, the teacher is the subject, raised is the verb, and instant alarm is the object. How do we know? This is an action verb. The teacher raised. The teacher took action. And then what follows? We receive the action reported by the verb raised. So an instant alarm is an object of the verb raised because it receives the action of the verb raised. Okay, so that is how we arrive at the answers. So let's look at the solution. Again, you can see here, there's a typo. If we have question F, it should be answer F. Take note of this. So the answer to question I, which is the grammatical name, is noun phrase. The answer to question II, which is the function, is object of the verb raised. So let's undo the marks, and now we go to the next question. Okay. Now the next question is 2017. Again, theory question number 6. The full sentence in the passage that contains the underlined expression is, as he dragged it to the surface, we screamed in sudden terror. The questions are, now look at the underlined expression in passage. It is presented here, and 2 questions are asked. I, what is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? I, what is its function? Now, how do we solve it? Again, we use the border principle. As it dragged it to the surface, we indicate a border here. We screamed in sudden terror. Then we use the elimination method. Let's ignore this expression, and then we read the rest of the sentence. We screamed in sudden terror. Now, if you hear this statement from someone, and you don't know any other thing about what the person is talking about, what kind of question are you going to ask him or her? We screamed in sudden terror. There are a number of questions. Why did we scream in sudden terror? When did we scream in sudden terror? Where? How? All right, these are a series of questions. And then these types of questions suggest that what should answer the question should be an adverb or an adverbial element. Then we go back to we now go back to the underlined expression. Let's remove this. And then we examine it to know the type of answer it provides to any of the questions. As he dragged it to the surface. Now we can rephrase it. When he was dragging it to the surface, or while he dragged it to the surface, all these possibilities suggest the idea of time. So it raises the question, when? When did we scream in sudden terror as he dragged it to the surface, or while he was dragging it to the surface? Now, this now shows us that the grammatical unit or class being talked about is something that has to do with an adverb of time. If it is a single word, it is an adverb, but this is not a single word. It's a group of words. It's either an adverb phrase or an adverb clause. Let's see if it has a subject and a verb. Yes, it has. This is the subject. This is the verb. He dragged. Then this shows us this is an adverb clause. So this is an adverb clause of time. What is its function? It modifies the verb screamed, because the question is based on scream. When did we scream? You know, as it dragged it to the surface. So this modifies the verb screamed. Okay, so this is exactly how you arrive at the answer. And so the answer to question I, the grammatical name, is adverbial clause of time. And take notes, you don't have to say the grammatical name is blah, blah, no. Simply write adverbial clause of time. And you don't have to say the is function is blah, blah, no. Write I modifies the verb screamed, and you win, you get the maximum marks, okay? So let's now undo the marks and again go to our next question, okay? Let's undo the marks and go to our next question. Okay. So here we are in 2018 West African Senior School Certificate Examination in June. And then we are dealing with theory question number 6. Again, an expression is taken from the passage, and the full sentence from which is taken is as follows. Everybody was impressed with the feats which went along with the hilarious drumming. Okay, so here, let me erase the previous mark. And then again, we use the border principle. Everybody was impressed with the feats. This is where the underlined expression begins. Then we use the elimination method. We eliminate this underlined expression, and we read the remaining part of the sentence and examine the type of question that arises. Everybody was impressed with the feats. Now, if you hear this from someone, and then what question are you going to ask? Everybody was impressed with the feats. The natural question is, which feats are you talking about? Now, once the question is which one or which type, the only grammatical class that answers this type of question is an adjective. It could be an adjective if it is a single word. This is not a single word. It could be an adjectival phrase if it is a group of words without a verb and subject combined together. It could be an adjectival clause if it has the subject-verb combination. Now let's look at this critically. We return to it. Okay, so we clean this elimination mark, and then we return to it, which went along with the hilarious drumming. So we now conclude that this is an adjectival clause because it has a subject, it has a verb, which went along, okay? So here is an adjectival clause. And then the next question, let's look at the questions, okay? Look at the expression extracted here. And the questions are normally two. What is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? We already know it's an adjectival clause. What is its function? This is what we now have to examine. Normally, an adjective will modify a noun, and the noun that shares a common boundary with this expression is fits. Okay, so this adjectival clause modifies the noun fits. That's the answer. So this is how you present it. Answer to I, grammatical name, adjectival clause. Answer to I, the function, modifies the noun fits. So let's again undo the marks, and then we move on to the next question. So now we come to question 2019 question, theory question 6. Again, the underlined expression in the passage. But when I discovered that I could take care of myself, I worked even harder. Now, the expression is that I could take care of myself. Questions, what is the grammatical name given to this expression as it is used in the passage? What is its function? Now, as usual, we go with the border principle, but when I discovered, then the underlined expression begins here, that I could take care of myself. Then let's eliminate that I could take care of myself. And then let us read the rest of the sentence. But when I discovered, now if someone says this to you and you don't know anything he or she is talking about, what are you going to ask? When I discovered, the question naturally is when I discovered what? And as I earlier mentioned, the only grammatical class that can answer the question what is a noun. If it is a single word, it's a noun. If it is a group of words, it could be a noun phrase or a noun clause. Okay? When is it a noun phrase? If it doesn't contain a verb and a subject combined. If it contains a verb and a subject combined, it's a noun clause. Now, let's go back to the expression and then examine it critically. Does it contain a subject and a verb? Or does it not? Okay, so that's what we have to examine. Now, we already know it's not a noun because it's not a single word. But then it contains a subject. I is a subject. Would take care is a verb phrase. So it contains a subject and a verb. So it is a clause. And here we can conclude it is a noun clause. Now, what is its function? We can do this by analyzing the sentence. I is the subject. Discovered is the verb. You can see. And then this one that we analyze is internal analysis, okay? So let's remove our previous marks because we are now going to do a new analysis based on the sentence elements, which is the position that the entire clause occupies, okay? So when I discovered that, so this actually should be an object, okay? When I discovered, because discovered is an action verb. And so what comes after the action verb receives the action reported by the verb. And the only thing that receives the action of another is an object. So this shows us that the function here is that of an object. So it is a noun clause that performs the function of an object in this sentence. Okay, so take note of how we arrive at the answers. So we look at the answer to question I is noun clause. I, object of the verb discovered. Okay, now let's undo the marks again, and then we go to the last question, which should be for 2020. Okay. Now, 2020 question, theory question number 6. The underlined expression taken from the passage is contained in the following full sentence. Mama chatted heartily with a fellow passenger who was also going to see her son in Lagos. Okay, the underlined expression is who was going to see her son in Lagos. Now the questions are usually two. Look at the underlined expression here. And question I, what grammatical name is given to this expression as it is used in the passage? I, what is its function? How do we solve this? Again, we use the border principle. Mama chatted heartily with a fellow passenger. And this is where the underlined expression begins. So we put a border line here. And then elimination, we eliminate this expression, and then we examine the type of question that arises when we read the rest of the sentence. Now follow this procedure carefully. Mama chatted heartily with a fellow passenger. Now, if someone says this to you and you don't know anything about what he or she is talking about, what are you going to ask him or her? Mama chatted heartily with a fellow passenger. The natural question is, which passenger are you talking about? Which passenger? Okay. Now, what answers the question, which one or which type, is usually an adjective. If it is a single word, it's an adjective. Well, this is not a single word. Now, it is a group of words. It's either an adjective phrase or an adjective clause. When is it an adjective phrase? When it doesn't contain a verb and a subject combined. If it contains a verb and a subject, or a subject and a verb, then it is an adjective clause. Now let's erase the elimination mark and then examine the structure. Now, this obviously contains the subject who was going. That's the verb. So we can conclude that this is an adjective clause. It's an adjective clause. Then what function? What is its function? It modifies the noun passenger. It modifies the noun passenger. It tells us the type of which particular passenger is being talked about. The one who was also going to see her son in Lagos. So here is exactly how you arrive at grammatical names and functions. So the solution is as follows. Answer to question I is adjectival clause, or you may say relative clause. That's another name for adjectival clause. Answer to question II is modifies the noun passenger. So, and this brings us to the end of today's class.
Many thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you in the new video. Thank you and remain